All right, good evening and welcome everyone to Green White Checkered TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Racing Area 51 IndyCar Series here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. A little bit of a new one for drivers to challenge them this evening. A very fast and treacherous track I think is going to be in store for drivers tonight. So you see our partner in crime, Steve Gottschalk. Steve, you're already on the track here. So I know you ran some good laps here in practice, some race trims, some qualifying trims. So take us through what these drivers are going to have to deal with tonight, because it sounds like this is going to be a pretty tough one with the aero push, but then also just the track itself. I mean, we talked about how much this is a very abrasive surface track here. I don't know how it's going to affect these Indy cars, but could make life very, very difficult for some of these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, I didn't get enough laps in practice to feel any difference in tire wear, but the aero push is pretty unbelievable off both turn 2 and turn 4. So if you're by yourself in either the race or the qual setup, you can put the car anywhere you want and go flat out, as I'm doing right now. But if there's cars ahead of you, I'm finding that if you do this, like a late apex coming off both turns, you can stay in it a little bit more than if you go in too early like this. And it's usually going to push off the turn, and if you don't get off the gas or modulate the gas through the turn, you're going to hit the wall.
Yeah, I think it's a great point you bring up there, Steve, is the fact that the way you enter these turns is going to really affect the outcome of that turn itself, especially in the dirty air, like you mentioned. So I think these drivers are definitely have their hands full. I think qualifying is going to be at the utmost of importance tonight. And I mean, this is the cutoff race here tonight, Steve. Let's say this is the last race of the regular season before we go into that 4-race playoff. So we know all these drivers, let's say there's a lot of drivers right on the edge of making it. So we'll go for our points here shortly. But yeah, I think, like you said, Steve, I think first track position, and then I think strategy and kind of getting the motion to arc in, arc out is going to be very crucial for these drivers tonight.
All right, let's see what it's like going into the pits, because you told me it was treacherous. Okay, entry, not bad. But exit, I can tell you, it is scary. Let's go do the exit, and we'll talk about it.
So you got to make sure you have enough fuel first.
50 mile an hour. I haven't run out yet, surprisingly. 50 mile an hour down pit road. Okay, now notice there's a flat part down here, and then there's this bank part up here. This is actually the preferred line to get out of the pit. You can go a little faster here, but when I was doing this in practice, I got a little cocky and I goosed the gas right here, thinking that the banking would keep me going. And I don't know, I hit a little bump or something, and I did a complete 360 down here on the apron. I was lucky I didn't hit anything. So pit exit is definitely going to be treacherous for these guys tonight. They're going to have to be very careful.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So let's say we'll see. Maybe drivers might be hoping for a caution flag pit stops tonight. We'll have to wait and see on that. But Steve, when we talk about the points, we're going to go into it right away here, because I think 6 through 12, I think that's going to be the place we got to watch. Right now on the bubble is the 8th place of Jim Brooks at 142 points. But you look ahead of him, you've got Jari Brupacher, Craig Forsyth, and they're at 150 and 159, so about 19 points, 17 points if my math is roughly correct, and 8 points for those two. Then look right behind him, you got Charles Teed right there, 6 points behind. 8 points behind, you got Josh Laston, Carl Henderson, another 5 behind, and then Michael Spell as well, only 2 behind Carl Henderson. So there's a lot of cars here. I think that 6th to 12th points is going to be the battle for this to get into that top 8 here tonight. So I think those are going to be the drivers to watch to see who is able to make it in. Obviously, other drivers just probably bragging rights, try to get that big win here tonight. So we'll have to see, because I think that's going to be. I think these are guys that are going to really need to minimize mistakes, but also try to capitalize potentially on others' mistakes here this evening. And with that, I believe qualifying has just completed here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And up front, it is going to be the number 11 of Matt Wagner taking pole position. So let's say Matt continuing on for where he left off last week. Great results for him. And then next to him, he's going to have Henry Bennett, 0.06 of a second slower. And then you got Charles Teed there in third. Nick DeGroot, Jari Brubacher are top 5. You got AJ Hobson, Jimmy Dryden, Jim Brooks, Jim Herrick, Gary Corley, Craig Forsyth, and Josh Laston are top 12. We'll continue down the field here. And then you've got Jeff Heisong in 13th, Carl Henderson 14th, Joseph, and then from there, these drivers opting not to make a qualifying lap here, Steve. You got Joseph Morales, James Ledford, Alec Coates, Don Reedy, and Michael Spell. So it looks like 19 drivers, if I'm not mistaken, going to be taking part in tonight's event. Again, 110 laps is the race distance. Fuel window in the low to mid 30 range, most likely. Steve and I are expecting to see, if we go green, probably a 3-stop race. However, I could easily see someone trying to stretch it to make it a 2-stopper. We did the numbers. If they can go 37 laps on each tank of fuel, they could make it a 2-stop race to the finish if we go green, of course. But I think this is going to be a very challenging track. I have a feeling we'll probably see a couple of yellows, just like you mentioned, Steve, the aero push, and just, of course, just the typical difficulty of a track like this.
And it's going to be interesting to see how these guys are able to pass. I think it's possible here that the outside line can keep up with the inside line when people are running side by side. So that may give somebody on the outside an advantage in making a pass. I also think that these guys are going to have to do some adjusting on the weight jacker and the rollers to really get this car to handle right. Because I was playing with, I put the weight jacker up to +3, which gives you a little bit more looseness, and that helped me a lot when I was out practicing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think that's going to be another thing to keep an eye on here tonight is the adjustments these guys. Again, there's a lot of toys these drivers can play with, Steve, like you mentioned. You've got the weight jacker, you've got the front and rear ARBs, and of course you got the fuel maps as well. So a lot of resources in the driver's hands here tonight. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of everything, I think, for what's going to be the right approach to put yourself in that position here tonight. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, we're going to have 19 cars taking the grid here tonight. Again, this is the cutoff race for the regular season to go into that Final Four playoffs. They will be taking the top 8 drivers through the course of the season. I'll say I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to find out about the drop weeks and such as well. That might come into play here as well. But I'm sure a lot of these drivers are just hoping it's going to play out nice and clean. But I mean, we've seen that throughout the season, Steve. These things, there's not a lot of time to react to certain situations. So these guys are going to really be on their toes here tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of reacting to situations, you saw me during practice trying to make an evasive maneuver on the front stretch to somebody that was spinning, and it caused me to crash. So yeah, it's going to be hard to avoid cars that are having problems ahead of you on this track.
Exactly right. So as the green flag comes out, the first thing is they got to get through the gears. Hopefully no tire spin. So far so good. Looks like everybody's clean from green, getting through the gears. And they're going to head into turn number 1 for the first time. Matt Wagner leading the way over Henry Bennett. It's going to be Charles Teed trying to peek underneath that 007, see if he can grab second spot. And I say we're going to get right into the dirty area here, Steve. So let's say we're going to be able to find out very quickly how these cars handle.
Yep, definitely. And that push is going to be there from the get-go. Matt Wagner, I know, he's in a thankful position right now because he's got clean air and he should be able to stay flat out all the way around.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, Steve, I think you see him, he's also doing that later apex as well, trying to get a nice arc in and out of these turns. But he's starting to build up just a little bit of space over Henry Bennett. Nothing huge by any means, but enough to give him a little bit of breathing room. But you can see the whole field definitely giving themselves a lot of room right now, trying to make sure that they can all have a little bit of clean air. I think, again, I think with this being a new track for this series here, I think you see a lot of cautiousness to start things off.
Nope, we just had a accident.
Oh, yep, I think I saw, I thought I saw Jari Brubacher. Indeed it is. But so far, as soon as I say so far, a single car incident, but then he saw there James Ledford just got a piece of that as well. I think he got caught there. I think it may have been, I think Don Reedy got into the back of James. Unfortunately, that's going to collect those two. So it was a single car spin for a moment with Jari Brubacher. Unfortunately, that's going to include now James Ledford as well. So let's go back and see what exactly happened to Yari to bring out this yellow. Looked like he just got tight out of 2 there, Steve, but we'll take a closer look here. All right, so speed things up here.
He had a little bit of help.
All right, let's take a look as we head into turn number 1 and 2. And yeah, oh, you see, yep, right there, that 99 STP car. I believe that's Jimmy Dryden. Just keeps drifting up, gets that dirty air. I say Jimmy's not trying to get into him, but unfortunately, there's nothing Yari can do. Say just at some point, his car is going to get in the path between that 99 and the wall. And then, oh, actually, also a little bit con Josh Last, and looks like he got a little piece of that as well. Steve, you can see the right front end plate of the wing missing there. So you see the tire down as well, but I think that's probably one of those little glitches we see. Then we see right here as the drivers are trying to avoid the incident. You see Don Reedy just cuts low and then just was not able to jump quick enough to the top to avoid the 48, I should say, of James Ledford. That's what sends James around. But yeah, looking at Josh Laston's vehicle as well, because I want to see if his car, it actually looks like, oh, actually I'm showing the left front, maybe a little bit of suspension damage. Yeah, I think actually Josh Laston some left front suspension as well to that 09 car. So I say he also caught a piece of that as well, it looks like, unfortunately.
That's a bummer. So that means a few people here are going to have to use their only fast repair.
Yeah, it looks like a quick fast repairs for a handful. Looks like from 11th on back, Jimmy Dryden, the first of those, he went ahead and he pitted under this yellow. I say Josh Laston, he does come out right behind him here, so I think opted, like I said, use that fast repair as well. And then right now, a few drivers still sitting in pit road. James Ledford actually just coming out now. And I believe James might be right on the tail end. Just beats the pace car out by, well, not just beats the car, but beats the pace car out, so he stays on the lead lap. I don't think Yari Brupacher, Don Reedy going to be so lucky. I think they're going to get trapped at least 1 lap down here. So I believe we're going to be down to 17 cars on the lead lap if everything I'm seeing is correct here.
Yeah, Yari had to take a tow, so he's going to be at least 1 lap down. In fact, he's showing us 2 laps down on my screen.
Yeah, it might be right. I say it's unfortunate. I say when you're running 25-second laps, even with the cautions, I mean, you're still going to have a fair advantage on those guys chasing down. So, really, what this does, though, Steve, we were talking about that potential of the 2-stop versus the 3-stop. This early yellow, again, this is all pending things going green, but I do feel like at this point, this probably puts a lot more drivers now in that 2-stop window. Obviously, I think Josh Lasson on back, those guys that went ahead and pitted, I think that definitely guarantees them to be on the 2-stop window to make it to the end, pending, of course, it going green to the end. So we'll see. I don't think it's enough laps for tires to play a big role in these cars' difference yet. But we'll have to see, of course, these guys pitting at lap number 4 there.
Yeah, and I would imagine that these the guys that stayed out, I'm sure that they've got their engine map on whatever saves the most fuel.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're exactly right, Steve. Probably everybody running map 8 right now, I would presume. First of those, of course, being Matt Wagner. So you can see him lugging it in 4th gear, but it's not going to tell us what fuel map it is. To say iRacing only gives so many secrets to everybody. Do need to mention the 0049. They are back out on track, Steve. Looks like 2 laps down, actually, when they cycle back in. And we do have a handful of drivers topping off here as well. You got Michael Spell in the 88, the 60 of Joseph Morales as well. And then also we saw the 48, unfortunately getting caught up in that as well, of James Ledford. He's going to get serviced under that car as well. Just to get that little bit of extra fuel here as we get the 1 to green. But I think, like you said before, though, Matt Wagner, his goal here is going to be to try to get a good restart here, keep that lead, and try to prevent Henry from getting that big momentum probably off the backstretch to have a chance to get around him.
Yep, definitely. And I believe the clean air will be his friend.
Yes, clean air definitely, I think, will be king here tonight. I say we'll see if we ever get a decent run in. I'll say we'll to see if there's any tire versus track position strategies. But yeah, right now I think if you're Matt Wagner, I think that's the right call for you. You stay out here, keep that track position, because I say you don't want to give someone like a Henry Bennett, Charles T, Nick DeGroot. The last thing you want to do is do them any favors here. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. But pace car is just about to duck on in, Steve, and we're going to see that number 11 car up to him when he wants to restart here. As you see Henry creeping in, there goes the 11 as they get back to green here, starting lap number 8.
And he got a good jump too.
Yeah, so far it looks pretty clean out the back of the 11, but you see right away though Matt playing a little bit of defense there, went a little bit low on exit. That way Henry didn't have quite enough run to try to get to the back of him. So that's going to allow Matt to hold the lead. But here comes Nick DeGroot here. He's going to peek to the outside. He's going to take that spot over Charles Teed. So move Nick now up into that 3rd spot.
And it's interesting, he was able to make a pass on the outside. So I guess you can do it.
I think it might also be about that timing of momentum as well. I think that could be a big role in this one as well. So we'll have to definitely keep an eye on that as the race goes on. But right now, again, you're going to see everybody start to stagger around just a little bit here. And I think it's going to be who can make the right adjustments to let that car drive the best in the dirty air. I think that's going to be where the success is. But I'm going to jump back because right now we got a good little battle here. We got Alex Coates there starting to try to fend off. I believe that was Josh Laston closing up on him as actually they're coming around the 40 of Jim Herrick. So they're both going to grab a spot around that number 40 car. Oh, we got Jimmy Drinans up in the wall, Steve, in 3 and 4, but he's able to bring it down to the inside here. He's going to loop it on the pit entry, but it's off-track surface, so I don't think we'll see a yellow for that. Unfortunately, Jimmy's going to have to take a tow from it, though. But we do stay green here, so right now everybody holding station. But like I said, we're going to jump back a little further because now we got A.J. Hobson trying to work over Charles Teed. Not enough there, though. Had a look, wasn't able to make anything come of it. Now he's going to have to try to regain that momentum back once more.
And I guess Jimmy Drinan's having a rough night because that's twice in the first few laps that he's had problems.
Yeah, so it's again, it's just some of these tracks are going to bite people. Now we're on board with Alec Coates. He's going to make a move underneath Craig Forsyth. So here's a good look here, Steve. We'll see the high line versus the low line. And Craig holding strong in that middle groove there, not able to, I should say able to hold off Alec Coates there. Right now, Alec actually one of our highest climbers, +9 up into that 9th spot, so 18th to 9 for that number 3 machine. So a great start for him as well. But yeah, looks like that second group might have something for these guys here tonight.
And I think from what I'm seeing here, that passing is actually, except for shortly after a restart, when as you pointed out, somebody gets a lot more momentum than the car ahead of them. It looks like it's going to be pretty difficult, and these guys are just going to kind of get strung out and follow the leader for a bit.
Yeah, we're watching there from Jim Brooks, was trying to chase down A.J. Hobson. Just caught the wall a little bit entering turn number 3, I should say. I believe got away with it. We'll see if the car is able to handle well. Just behind him while we were watching that, though, Craig Forsyth, Alec Coates, both able to jump around Gary Curley, looks like. So move Craig now up into some. Oh, we got Jimmy Dryden spinning on the pit exit, trying to keep it down low. Actually, I think he caught the inside wall as well. He's had to take another tow there, Steve. So yeah, that night going bad to worse for that 99 machine. So he's had to jump back to the pits one more time. I think it's like you said, Steve, that pit exit. But I'm going to jump up front, though, because Henry Bennett, he is not letting Matt Wagner get away here. He is keeping a close gap. I would say it's been about 2 or so tenths of a second. Every so often it kind of ebbs and flows. But right now he's really trying to work on that 11. Matt's actually moved up to the top here, Steve.
So to me, the big question now is if tire wear plays a role, and if it does, I think what it's going to do is it's going to cause the cars to push more coming off the turns. So that could end up being an advantage to somebody who's able to save tires. Yeah. So let's say Henry Bennett does a better job saving tires than Matt does. Even though Matt's got clean air right now, Henry may be able to pull off a pass just based on being able to run in more places on the track than Matt's able to. Matt may have to start backing off because of the push, but right now we don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Steve, and that's where you saw there. Henry's fallen to about a half a second off. You could hear him. He had to lift off pretty audibly there to kind of regain that car in the dirty air of that number 11 car. So yeah, so right now I think you're exactly right. I say we're going to jump back up to now. It's Jim Herrick that's working, or I'm sorry, Jeff Heisong working over Jim Herrick. Apologies. And it looks like Jeff Heisong going to grab that spot there, move him up now into the 11th position. And then say Jim Brooks, looks like he has gotten away with that contact. I think the car might be a little hurt, Steve, just because you can see how far he's fallen off that 4 car, now actually starting to fall into the clutches of Alec Coates. And as I said, here goes Alec going to look to the inside. So maybe just a little bit of damage to that number 51, preventing him from getting kind of the turn that he needs, but not enough to make that car undrivable as of the moment.
He's still able to hold his spot, but yeah, it looks like he's definitely losing speed on the straightaway.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of possibly maybe some side pod damage, maybe a little bit of a front wing damage. Let's say now it's that risk versus reward though. Do you want to save that fast repair? Do you need to use it here? Because you can see, like you said, Steve, it does appear like it's costing him speed overall. So it's going to be something that he'll have to kind of keep in mind, because that could come into play throughout the course of the race. Right now, on the drivers that pitted right now, Josh Lassen still is the first of those in that 10th position. Again, pitted on lap number 4, so nothing huge, but does allow him to be a little more aggressive on his fuel mapping. As I say, that he's trying to take a look here underneath that 7 of Gary Corley. But right now, Gary again able to hold on to it. And I think the trouble for Josh is he can run that inside line, but just 2 cars in front, you got the number 27, Craig Forsyth. That's going to take some clean air away from him, as now you see Josh is trying to work the top. There's that big apex we talked about, Steve. Inner's high drops about the first seam and gets a pretty solid exit out of 4.
So let's talk about the points, because I kind of missed where everybody's at, but I think you said Jim Brooks is on the bubble. Is that right?
Yes, so right now bubble driver is Jim Brooks in the 51 at 142 points. 6 points behind him is Charles Teed, and so in relation to that right now, Charles Teed is sitting 4th, Jim is in 7th. So right now Jim, I believe, have the points advantage to hold that position as they run. Another driver though that isn't in a good spot now either though, Jari Brupacher, he was in 7th position at 150 points. He sits down in 17th position after that early contact that he had with that 99 car. So so Jari definitely not in a safe spot himself either. As I see Carl Henderson hitting pit road, I don't believe that's a scheduled pit stop for the 42, unfortunately, but he's in the pits as we speak. So yeah, so those 2 are definitely going to be a couple drivers to watch, and Carl's actually one of those playoff contenders as well in the 11th, so that might put him a little bit out of the running right now. But I'm not counting out yet. Say Josh Lassen, he's still in the mix on this one as well for the points. Yeah, I mean, right now I think Jari Brupacher, Jim Brooks, Charles T, Josh Lassen, I think these guys are all in a very tight spot right now. And up front, Steve, Matt Wagner, he's been able to build some speed here. He's now got about a 1.5 seconds over Henry Bennett. So I'll say either maybe Henry's burned off his stuff a little bit, trying to chase him down, not sure. But we've got a really good battle going here right now, right inside the top 10. We got Craig Forsyth right there. We got Gary Corley right behind him, Josh Lassen right behind him. And while they've been battling, it's allowed Jim Brooks to sneak just a little bit away, about a 0.5 second. But these guys are in a good little battle here with one another. I'm going to jump over to AJ Hobson, though, because he's got some pressure now from Alec Coates in that 3 car. Like I said, Alec is really on the move here, Steve. He is now plus 12 into that 6th position. If he can get this spot from the 4, that'll put him plus 13. Oh, you see, he had to lift out of it there out of 2. He wanted to make that outside work. AJ was going to have none of it there, so that was good heads-up driving by Alec rolling out of that, but you can see he's really carrying some solid momentum out of the turns, and now you can see AJ's going to give the room to let him work the top side. It looks like here's the inner 1. Will it be enough, though, for him to complete this pass?
It looks to me, yeah, he's going to get it. Wow.
Great momentum on the exit, and yeah, move Alec Coates now up into the 5th position. Again, 13 spots gained here, and we're still on the original fuel run right now with these guys. Again, though, I think, Steve, magic number 37, and honestly with the yellow, I think you want to go a little further if you can, maybe 38, 39 to make this a 2-stop race. I'll say, but again, we're starting to get dangerously into that point where the track position and the pit entry and exits are going to be extremely difficult. So we're going to jump back though, because here comes Josh Lawson. He's making a move now on Gary Corley, trying to see if he can make that inside work. He's got the nose underneath, but I think the 7 again, yeah, there's the outside momentum. That middle groove does look to be working well for these cars.
Okay, so Alec Coates just ran a 25.421. Let's see how that compares to the leaders.
So 25.35 last time by for Matt Wagner. This time a 25.43. I'm going to wait for that 3 car to come back around. 25.47. So I think really Alec Coates, one of the fastest cars on the track right now. So we talked about tire management. I think he is doing exactly that. As now Josh Lawson able to work that outside, he gets around Gary Corley to move Josh up into that 9th position here. But I'm looking at a little bit further up here, Steve, because that gap between that number 50 of Charles Teed and the 3 of Alec Coates, it is shrinking. Because again, Alec, one of the fastest cars on the track, and doing so in dirty air as well. I think just all the more impressive of what that number 3 is able to do right here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that he's obviously found something to help deal with that aero push. Either he's just saved his tires incredibly well, or he's made the best adjustments that you can make with the anti-roll bars and the weight jacker.
Yeah, exactly right. So we're going to keep an eye on him at the moment, because he's definitely been the man on the move right now. About 0.3 off of Charles at the moment, but you can see though, a lot of the field, Steve, they have pretty much opted to get to about that middle group, but you can see there, you're right though, Alec able to stay pretty much following the same line as that 50 car, so I think you're exactly right, Steve. Obviously some tire savings involved, but I think he's also just made great adjustments to that 3 cars. You see there, he enters a little low, and there's that wash up you talked about, Steve. That's going to slow him up a little bit, but I'm going to jump back a little further now, because we've actually got a good battle here with Josh Lawson and Craig Forsyth. So they just went back and forth for a lap there, kind of who had it and then who doesn't. Actually, but here comes Matt Wagner, Steve. He hits pit road. Our leader, Jim Brooks, coming in as well. Alec Coates coming in as well. So that's going to start our pit stop cycle, and this is at lap number 37, so it's right on the edge, Steve, if they can make it the rest of the way on one more stop after this one.
So right on the edge, except that they had, 5 laps of caution in this segment?
There was a yellow, yeah. So, and of course, the question for Jim Brooks, maybe use a fast repair, maybe does not. But, and oh yeah, it looks like, I believe, let me see what the pit stop time was, because I believe I just saw Alec Coates jump around him. Oh no, he was already head on track. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up who was where there. But what this has done is this puts Henry Bennett now into the lead. And now these drivers leading pit road, they got to be very cautious not to spin on exit. So far, so good for Matt and Alec. And it looks like Jim the same as well. And we're going to jump back, because here comes a big chunk of drivers here, Steve. You got Henry Bennett, you got Nick DeGroot, you've got Charles Teed. Somewhere in there, there's Charles Teed. So we've got a handful of those guys hitting. Josh Laston's hit pit road as well the lap before that. Apologies for missing it. So Josh on pit road as well. That's going to cycle now AJ Hobson in the 4 car to the front. And actually, Steve, I think something may have happened to Josh Laston, because right now he's got a long pit stop. Not sure if it's a pit penalty or if maybe something happened, maybe had to take a tow. Unfortunately, that 09 car has a long pit stop right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering why he pitted there, because he was one of the people, if I remember correctly, that...
Yep, he was one that pitted earlier, yeah. So I think this is not a scheduled stop for Josh. Or maybe he was just running more aggressive. So I'll see if he gets going here at around the 48-second mark. That might be the telltale of whether or not it's a pit penalty or if it's something more. And at this point, this is looking like a tow, unfortunately, Steve, from where I'm sitting.
And we just had contact between... was that Alec Coates? No, who's behind Alec Coates? Nick DeGroot.
Oh, contact between the two of them?
No, there's a yellow car just ahead of Nick DeGroot. I'm going to see who it is right now.
Oh, we got a caution, though, out of turn number 2, AJ Hobson. He's going to take a quick tow to avoid any contact. And again, in the middle of the pit cycle, and look who has stayed out, Steve. He had yet to hit pit road. That's going to be the 88 of Michael Spell. Jeff Heisung also had yet to hit. Those two, again, they hit on that lap number 4. and this is going to work huge for them. It looks like we'll have to see for drivers that maybe were able to get their laps back or maybe be on the tail end. You see Michael Spell going around a couple of drivers here. I believe Matt Wagner just squeaked around there, preventing himself from putting himself a lap down. But I see a few drivers not sure where they need to be positioning themselves right now. You see 007 Henry Bennett. I don't know if he needs to be in front or behind, but actually, no, it's Jeff Hysong, it looks like, who's taking over as the race leader there. So right in the middle of the pit cycles there. So we should see them hitting pit road. We'll see a lot of wave rounds here. Let's go back, though, see what exactly happened to A.J. Hobson here, though. Oh, it's a pit exit spin, Steve. We warned about that. I said we saw it was going to be an issue, and it was all looking good. He was coming out of the pits. It looked like the car was holding pretty well, but you're going to see, I think, like you said, maybe just a little too aggressive on the throttle, and you'll see right here, there goes the back. It starts to kick out, and then at every driver, you're going to try to catch the spin. You can see the wheel fully locked to the right, but just isn't enough for him, and that's going to send that car straight up onto the racing surface. You see Charles Teed, he sneaks by there. Jim Brooks, I'm sure he's getting very nervous. He just squeaks by that 4 car as well. Craig Forsyth down to the inside, and that is the cause of the yellow there. And it looks like Henry Bennett, I believe Henry Bennett was the wave around recipient, so he's back now on the lead lap. We'll jump back live here. But it's going to be, our leader here is going to be the 88, though, Steve, I believe. Well, now I see Matt Wagner coming around him, so we'll double check our numbers here. Now it's showing Matt Wagner as the race leader. So we'll let this settle out because I'm not sure who is where, but either way, though, we have a lot of drivers on the tail end of the lead lap, starting with Alec Coates, going all the way down to the 48 of James Ledford. So a lot of drivers here are going to take that wave around. But it's going to be, it looks like actually, yeah, so indeed Matt Wagner going to be our race leader over Michael Spell and Jeff Hysong. Henry Bennett, the lucky dog, he's going to hit pit road now. A little surprised that Matt did not pit there, though, Steve. I feel like, again, he pitted 6 laps earlier, but again, maybe thinking all about track position, keeping that, and then also having a chance now to save that little bit of extra fuel here under this yellow.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what he's thinking.
So drivers that will still be a lap down, though, Steve, after this is all said and done, include Joseph Morales, Yari Brupacher, Carl Henderson will still be 1 down, Don Reedy 2 laps, and Josh Lassen, unfortunately, 3 laps down. Again, apologies, not sure what happened to Josh, but he is indeed 3 laps down. Actually, while we have a moment, I'm going to go back and see, because you mentioned also some potential contact between Nick DeGroot and who is the other driver, Steve?
It was Joseph Morales. Lap 39, just at the beginning of pit road. I believe what happened was that Joseph was slowing down to go into the pits, and Nick DeGroot came up, flying up on him, probably not knowing that he was doing that, and had to take an evasive maneuver. And it kind of looks to me like either Nick's left front tire hit Morales's
I see it now.
rear, or it was a net code.
Yeah, we just went back. We saw it right there. Yeah, that could have also been a major issue there. So, we'll just see also now about Nick DeGroot. Does he maybe have some lingering damage that we're not aware of? Is he actually? We're going to jump back live because here come all the wave round cars trying to get back in position here, but they're going to restart behind as well the lap down cars. So they're going to have a lot of traffic to contend with, but it's going to be our top 3 are our top 3. You've got Matt Wagner, Michael Spell, and Jeff Hysong. And then its next car in line is going to be Henry Bennett. There are a few cars behind the leaders there. It looks like 3 lap cars in between himself and them. And then here come all those wave arounds as well. So to me, though, Steve, the 3 in the best positions right now, or actually 2 in the best positions, Michael Spell and Jeff Hysong. They pitted under that yellow. They have brand new tires. Matt's going to have a little older tires, about 6 less laps of fuel. So this could get interesting here because we're going to restart coming to lap 46. And I believe they should, like I mentioned, I think they are good to go on 1 more stop to the end, depending on how aggressive they are. But the pace car is in. Now we're going to watch that 11 car. And he is down and away as we get back to green here, starting lap number 46.
And I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, let's see. We're at lap 40, 46. And what was it, 110 laps?
110, correct. I'm not going to do the math.
I'm going to attempt. So 64 laps divided in half, 32. Yeah, it's very possible that these guys can do it. Well, the one I'm most worried about is Matt Wagner, because he's got those 6 laps of fuel that he's already used.
Yeah, and I was saying he did not pit there, so, and he was also the first to pit last time. As you see, Jeff Heisong just got around Michael Spell to grab that second position, so he wants to waste no time, wants to make sure he can keep his sights set on the 11 car, because again, he's got the fuel advantage to these guys. Then we go a little further back and say, like I said, it's going to be a gaggle here. You got Jim Brooks and Charles T. They run side by side, 7th and 8th. Again, this is 8th and 9th in the points going into tonight's race. And then ahead of them, you see Alec Coates right there, not too far behind Nick DeGroot. Henry Bennett's right there. So I say those wave rounds, they are all bunched together here and all pitted within the same lap or so. So not a huge tire difference. But it does look like that 51 Steve, a little more pace out of Jim Brooks, so I'm thinking if he did have damage, the damage has been resolved. The question, of course, is whether or not it's either a fast repair or not. So, but again, if that's the case, he's going to have to be very cautious the remainder of this race.
And fortunately, at least for now, he's kind of in a open space, at least as far as the people ahead of him go. He's got some breathing room there.
Yeah, he's got a little room ahead, but yeah, not much room behind, I'll say, because they are all starting to kind of file in on one another. So you've just got a couple of tenths pretty much between these guys. You see Gary right on the rear wing of Craig Forsyth. Craig about 3 tenths off of Charles. Charles actually looking underneath there, Jim Brooks, but Jim was trying to work over that car in front of him. I believe that is the 42. It is. You can see just that trial with these Indy cars. It is very touchy there. And just again, the speeds these guys are going, probably in the 220 range at least, makes it very tricky to try to make those clean passes happen. But Jim able to get around that 42 car. Now he's got great breathing room ahead of him, Steve. However, I'm going to jump back up front though, because Matt Wagner, he's got some pressure now on that back of that car. He's got Jeff Heisong just 2 tenths of a second behind again. And I think this is a great move here by Jeff as well. Don't let Matt just cruise here. Make him burn that fuel. Make him run full, Rich. Again, he may not be able to make it to the end if, like the rest of the fields can. It's all about if you can make him work a little harder, burn that little bit extra fuel. Maybe put that 18 car in the catbird seat here.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is, if Jeff Heisong is committed to just staying behind Matt Wagner, the closer he is, the more he can save his fuel.
Yeah, exactly right. So right now they're holding pretty steady. Michael Spell, he's only about 6 tenths off. And again, Michael is also, I think, kind of, I'd say, the dark horse contender, if you will, to make it into that top 8, because he was 12th coming into tonight, but now sitting in the 3rd position. Also, I believe, led a lap, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So every bonus point is going to matter, and also right now is plus 18 from his starting position. So that strategy worked out extremely well for that 88 car. Everybody's spreading out a little bit here, Steve. So I'm going to do a quick run through the field here. Obviously, our pole setter, Matt Wagner, still sitting on the front here in that 11 machine. Behind him, you got the 18 of Jeff Heisong. He has gained 11 positions so far this race. In that 3rd spot, you've got the 88 of Michael Spell. Again, also with that great pit strategy, that's jumped him way up the running order as we just crossed the halfway point. In 4th, our wave around driver getting the lucky dog was Henry Bennett. So he was able to get service done to his car, so he's got also the same amount of fuel as the 2 in front of him, but more than Matt Wagner. However, then you go to the 5th spot, Nick DeGroot, one of our wave round drivers, pitted on lap number 38. That still sits in the top 5. Alec Coates, we talked about his jump through the field. Right now in 6th position. He pitted on 36, Steve, same lap as Matt Wagner, also one of the wave around drivers. And then same thing goes for Jim Brooks, also lap 36, one of the wave rounds as well. He sits in 7th. And then you got Charles Teed in 8th, pitting on lap number 38. And then in 9th, you've got Craig Forsyth there, pitting on lap number 39. And then Gary Corley also on 39 in the 10th position. And then we'll go back a few more because he's going to get to the last cars on the lead lap. You've got Jim Herrick in the 40 machine, and then the 48 of James Ledford, our last 2 cars of the 12 on the lead lap. And our lucky dog battle, Steve, right now, Jari Brupacher has it by about 3 seconds over Joseph Morales, and then another 3 or so seconds over Carl Henderson. So right now, say Yari's just hoping to keep this clean, because again, Jari entered tonight in 7th in points. With everything that just went on, he's now jumped up into 13th, so it's a good jump for Jari. This definitely puts him in a potential spot here to try to salvage points. So to keep an eye on that. And then a few remaining drivers, unfortunately, multiple laps down. Don Reedy is 2 laps down in 16th, right behind our leaders. And then in 17th position, again, Josh Lassen. Unfortunately, something happening to him that we weren't able to catch, but is 3 laps down at the moment.
Okay, I have an interesting idea for something we can add to our rundown. What do you think about going through the, I don't know, top 10 in points and see where they're running on the track right now?
I like it, Steve, and we will do that right now as we had just crossed the halfway point, starting lap number 61 now. So our points leader entering tonight, Nick DeGroot, he sits in 5th position right behind Henry Bennett by just a couple of tenths. And then our second place in the points going into tonight was the 11 of Matt Wagner, obviously leading tonight. I don't think a win's going to be enough to let him win the overall regular season championship. I think that's going to stick with the 89 of Nick DeGroot. Pretty much locked that one up with his great results so far this season. And then in 3rd in points is 4th on track of Henry Bennett. And actually, I should say just got around Nick DeGroot right there. So move Henry up into 4th. Or no, apologies, I'm mixing up who is where. And then in the 4th in points is 2nd on track. That's going to be Jeff Hysong. And then rounding our top 5 is Andrew Wood, not here tonight, but again was hoping his results last week were enough to lock him in. So let's say he's going to be not breathing too easy here, depending on how the results go tonight. And then in 6th position in points is in 10th on track of Craig Forsyth, with an updated driver's picture with a very, very impressive looking beard on that number 10 out of that number 27 machine. So you have to check that out later, Steve. And then we'll jump one behind him is that number 49, Jari Brupacher. Oh, I'm going to jump a little bit off because I just saw Michael Spell go a little bit off-roading here. Oh, he's on the front stretch. I think that's going to bring out a yellow as he's in front of the field. Yellow is out. And so far, everybody's able to swing around Michael, and it looks like he's going to get away with just himself being caught up in that one. But unfortunately, heartbreak for Michael there because he was in a great position here. So this is not a pit window, Steve. I don't think anybody can make it from here as we're at 46 to go. However, do we see a gamble of tires and fuel versus track position? Let's go first see what exactly happened, unfortunately, to that number 88 of Michael Spell here.
Looked to me like he just got loose coming off of 4, got down in the grass, and that was it.
Oh, actually, I see him catch the wall there in the trial. Let's go back a little further, see if we can see how it all... Oh, yeah, I see the loose that you just talked about, Steve. So we'll take a look. We'll look at real time here. And yeah, that car just steps out on him on the exit. He tries to hang on to it and then just catches the outside wall with pretty heavy force. But you can see the tires locked up. He's holding the brakes down, trying to keep that car where it needs to be, keep it locked on the same spot on the track. But we're going to jump back live, Steve, because so far it looks like there are no takers to stay out at the moment as pit stops are beginning with the number 11 of Matt Wagner. And sure enough, Steve, no takers here. Nobody's going to risk gambling staying out for track position. However, do you need to mention Jari Brupacher? We just talked about him. He gets that wave around. He's going to put himself back onto the lead lap. And now, Steve, if I'm these guys here, Joseph Morales, Carl Henderson company, if you have the fuel to make it on one more stop where you're at to the end, you stay out here. You take that wave around and put yourself in a potential position to either still make that one last pit stop or maybe catch a yellow to get back on sequence.
And basically everybody's going to have to make one more pit stop.
Yeah, exactly right. But it's gonna be close though, Steve. I mean, we're at 45 to go. We talked about 37 being the magic number to make it to the end. So at this point, these guys are maybe about 8 laps short as they run. If they go fuel save to get to that number let's say maybe 12 laps short if they go full rich and pit around lap 33. But this opened up some opportunities here, and unfortunately, this looked like the 09 and the 42 are hitting pit road. It did show Carl Henderson had been a while since he had last pitted, so I think he had to pit there, unfortunately. But this could still work out for Carl, because I believe, indeed, Joseph Morales, he's going to stay out here. He's going to take that wave around. He'll get back on the lead lap, and that'll leave Carl and Don Reedy as the only two drivers one lap down battling for that position. And Don Reedy last pitted, Steve, on lap number 41, so he does not have a lot longer before he would have to make his final pit stop.
So do we think that he's actually going to try and pit under this yellow, or?
I think the 00 is going to stay out, go from 2 down to 1 down from what everything I'm seeing here, from what it looks like to me. So, and need to mention up front, though, it's Matt Wagner, Jeff Heisong, Henry Bennett are the top 3, and then Nick DeGroot, Alec Coates rounding out our top 5. But yeah, from what I'm seeing, Steve, though, it looks like Joseph Morales and Don Reedy, from what I'm seeing, it looks like they're going to stay out here to get that wave around, which will put the 00 from 2 laps down to 1 lap down. However, like I said, he's going to have about 24 less laps of fuel than Carl Henderson. So we ran the numbers, of course, and to me that means he can probably run another, 15 laps before he has to make his final stop.
Which actually, if it stays green, may not hurt him. If we get a yellow, it could potentially hurt him depending on when it comes out. But I think that's the right move right there. And now Carl Henderson, this also works out for him because he's the only driver a lap down, so he'll be the lucky dog if we get another caution.
Yeah, right now the 2 drivers 1 lap down are Carl Henderson, Don Reedy. However, we'll say with Don having to take that wave around, Carl's going to be ahead of him. Did you mention a few drivers here, Steve? Topping off, Jim Herrick, James Ledford. We'll see, maybe they're going to roll the dice here and try to go full save. Actually, I apologize, as they're also missing 27 of Craig Forsyth, and we know Craig is always one to gamble as well. So can they go 42 laps on fuel? I don't think so, but can they do something different, however, and maybe put him in a position to, again, we saw a couple yellows during a pit stop cycle before, maybe that does the same for them and they can just run as far as they can. So it's all up for grabs here, Steve. We're going to restart this one with 42 to go. It's going to be yet again the 11 of Matt Wagner leading Jeff Heisong, Henry Bennett, Nick DeGroot, and Alec Coates as the pace car tucks on in. It's going to be that 11 has control of the restart, and we are back to green, 42 to go.
I'm going to go out on 11 so nobody's going to make it 42 laps.
Oh, it may not be 42 laps because a quick yellow here, Steve, and it looks like, Charles Teed involved, Steve. And he was one of our drivers right on the bubble. He was the 9th driver in points. Car looks from the back, looks okay. Let's take a couple other angles. Everything looks okay for Charles here, but brings us back out on the yellow. So let's go see what happened here to Charles on this restart, and is his car okay or not. So let's take a closer look here. So you see the 50 car. He's right behind the 51 of Jim Brooks. You got Gary Corley to his back as well, and it just steps out on him, Steve. You can see it kind of cut to the right. He tries to catch it, and then just loops it back around to the left. I think that's just the quick reaction to make sure you don't catch anybody up in your spin there. And it looks like after all that, it's going to just be that little solo spin. So I mean, that's that's great for Charles. In fact, no damage, anything like that. And the other thing is, I think now this really opens up the fuel window, because I think this could get very interesting on pit strategy here.
Yeah, now definitely I agree with you. Everybody's going to be running fuel map 8, saving all the fuel they can possibly save, and I would say there's a chance that some of these guys are going to be able to make it.
So far, no takers. First taker is going to be the 48 of James Ledford. He's going to come in here and actually see if that quick yellow, I believe, is going to be a huge break for the 42 of Carl Henderson, and indeed it is. There he goes. He's going to get himself back onto the lead lap in that 42 car. And I'm going to go out and also say this is also a big break for Don Reedy, because, again, he took that wave around the last time by to go from 2 down to 1 down, and now he can pit here. He'll be the only car 1 lap down, and that'll put him in a great position if we get another yellow to get himself back onto the lead lap as well.
Oh, there we go. That's what I missed the last time. I thought he and Carl were both 1 lap down. So he was.
Oh, yeah. So that's going to bring us to 11 cars back on the lead. Oh, I'm sorry, no, not 11. 14 cars on the lead lap there, adding the 42. Also need to mention, of course, the 50 of Charles Teed. He did hit pit road as well. And honestly, I mean, again, this could be one of those situations where something that bad that happens to you, a little mistake, could wind up being a benefit for you in the long run. Because again, we're at 40 to go here. I think the pace car is going to go around one more time before we get the lights off. And that would put us at a restart with, if I'm not mistaken, 38 to go, Steve. Actually, no, I think we're going to come across here to 39 to go. I'm saying my math is all sorts of off. Yeah, 39 to go. So, yeah, lights are still on. So, Steve, I think we're going to restart this race with 37 laps to go. That was our magic number for that 2-stop race. Does that come into play here tonight?
I think definitely, but I don't know. I think that the guys that stayed out have enough laps that they're probably still going to have to try and save fuel under green. And if it does come to that, the guys that just pitted under this caution, I think, are going to have an advantage.
I am in complete agreement with you. So the drivers that pitted the first time around were the 60, the 48, and the 50. That's Joseph Morales, James Ledford, and Charles Teed. This time around, we saw Craig Forsyth, Jim Herrick, Yuri Brupacher, and Carl Henderson all hit pit road. So the ones I want to watch now, though, are going to be, do we see anybody top off here on this 1 to go? So we're going to be watching the pit road entry here to try to see if we can take a better look at it. So that's not the right one. That's the right one. So we're going to see who makes the sharp left here. It's only going to be those that pitted that first time. If they didn't pit those first 2 times, they have to stay out here. Do we see any takers? And indeed we do, Steve. Here comes Joseph Morales. Here comes James Ledford. Here comes Charles Teed. Yuri Brupacher's coming in as well. So we're going to have 4 drivers that also top off to get that absolute max of fuel. So I think these guys are making their bed. They are not going to pit one more time.
And I think this is a smart move by these guys because they're not going to have to save fuel at all. They're going to be able to run full rigs. Maybe use a little bit of draft just to be able to make the 37 laps without any trouble. But I think they have a big advantage over the guys that stayed out. But we'll see.
Yes, it's going to get interesting. Say the thing that they're going to be rooting for now is, though, they want this race to stay green. They do not want another yellow because I think the more yellows, obviously, the better chance that these guys who stayed out have to get that to that fuel window to the end. So right now it's going to be interesting. Craig Forsyth, he's going to be the furthest up of those that pitted, and then those that topped off, it's going to be Charles Teed, the furthest up, 8th and 11th respectively. So pace cars again about to head back in here. We're going to restart this one now with 37 laps to go, and it's going to be again Matt Wagner over Jeff Heisong, Henry Bennett, Nick DeGroot, and Alec Coates. Pace car is in, and Matt Wagner is away as we go back to green here. 37 laps to go.
One disadvantage that Matt Wagner is going to have for the rest of this race, if we stay green, he doesn't have anyone to draft off of. So he's going to burn more fuel than any other car on the track.
I would say, I'm going to say 2 more yellows that Matt Wagner would need to be able to make it to the end as it sits. I don't think he has the fuel to make it again. He last pitted on lap 65. We're on 75 now, so let's say with the math there, say that's 46 to go when he pitted. Yeah, I just think that's going to be too far of a stretch. So we'll see. So I shouldn't say we, but I've been wrong plenty of times before. So we'll have to wait and see as this race unfolds. But right now he's got just about a half-second lead over Jeff Heisong. Nick DeGroot and Henry Bennett there closing the gap though on that number 18 of Jeff Heisong. And again, watching the drivers there that top off right now, not a lot of changes. Still looks like Craig Forsyth holding solid in the 8th spot. But I think, and you look at the gap right now between that number 27 and the 7 of Gary Corley, I think that tells us everything you need to know here, Steve. I don't think he's going for any outright speed right now. I think Craig's just going for absolute full fuel save.
So you think even though he pitted on this last yellow, that he's still going to save fuel here?
I think they have to, Steve. I think full rich was most likely probably going to be about 33. I would say I'd say low 30s. I think to get to that 37 lap mark, I think there will need to be significant fuel saving, and I think that's what we're seeing out of Craig Forsyth right now. I'll say we will jump a little further up though, because Gary Corley, he's starting to put some big pressure on that 51 of Jim Brooks. Again, these are the last 2 cars who did not pit under that previous yellow, so right now they're in the same strategy of our top 5 as well. So say they, of course, are probably hoping to see a timely caution to put themselves in the mix as well. But right now, say they're holding pretty steady in that 6 and 7 positions. We'll keep jumping around because our lucky dog, Steve, Carl Henderson, he is working over Jari Brupacher. This is 12th and 13th. And again, Carl was in the potential position to try to advance into that top 8 as well. Right now, obviously, the points aren't looking where he needs it to go, but that car in front of him, he's ahead of him in points. So if he can knock Jari back a few pegs, that could be an opportunity for that 32 to try to claw himself back into it.
And we know from last week that Carl can be pretty darn fast in these things, especially when he decides it's go time and the guys ahead of him are trying to save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, so the question is he saving fuel at the same time? I think that's probably what we're seeing right here. I think he's thinking long run too, because again, he was one of those drivers that pitted on lap number 71, same as Craig Forsyth. So we'll have to keep an eye on. Oh, he's got Michael Spell behind him though. He's just gone off track. Gonna try to hang on to it. And it looks like he's going to do a great job of keeping that car in one piece there. So we're going to stay greenish, should say. Now he loops it around, but I think he should get away with it just because of the fact that there's no cars around him here. So it looks like, yeah, we will stay green indeed. But we're going to jump back yet again because you've got Jim Herrick now on the move here. He's starting to put pressure on that 27 car, and Jim was also one of those that pitted that same lap as Craig. So we'll have to keep an eye on see again. I think right now this is the race for those that are trying to stretch this fuel number.
Michael Spell's car just took off to the left in the middle of the tri-oval.
Yeah, that car just isn't happy and saying, but actually we're going to jump up front because Matt Wagner's coming up to him with a big head of steam here. He's actually going to try to steal a little bit of draft if he can off the 88 car. Let's say, and again, this is where you have to be real careful. Of course, you don't want to catch the car at the wrong place, wrong time. But you see Michael giving tons of space there. Does not want to play any role in the outcome of this race there with our leaders. So again, hats off to Michael. Kind of bummed to say that he's in this position. So I was really good seeing him up front there in a great position. So we're going to jump back a little more because now in that mix, we're talking about the 40 Jim Herrick. Here comes Charles Teed here, Steve. He was one of those drivers that he topped off on that one to go. I think he's a little worried that these guys are falling too far off the back. And this actually might even be one of those things where it's a fight right now for who basically, none of these guys I think want to lead this group. I think they all want to save fuel. I think Charles Teed said, you know what? I don't want to lose this much gap to the guys up front. So he's putting down some big laps right now. Going to try to close that gap to Gary Corley. But with all of that they were doing there, Steve, they've fallen to about 2.5 seconds between the 50 and the 7. So we'll see if Charles can claw it back to, and it looks like he's actually working pretty quickly here. He's already gained a couple tenths on Gary that last time, through that last turn, I should say. So yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see. Maybe Gary's going to go aggressive, catch the back of those guys, and then go back to full fuel save.
Well, with that kind of a gap, I mean, Charles Teed is not going to be able to save any fuel if he's trying to catch those guys.
Exactly right. I'd say right now, and this might be one, again, this is that risk versus reward. Maybe he goes aggressive now and then tries to maybe gain back what he lost catching it up because, again, I think just the strategy with these guys behind, they're going full lean here, maybe losing too much time in order to try to run that fuel number to the end. So the other driver that I'm noticing has fallen way off here, Steve, Henry Bennett. Is Henry trying to throw a Hail Mary here? Can he make big fuel numbers? Because we know Henry's very good at strategy as well. But I don't know if he can save that much fuel tonight in that 007.
And he's not, I mean, he's far enough back that he's probably not getting any advantage of the draft. So, no, it almost makes him the same as Matt Wagner, where he's got clean air ahead of him, which is nice, but you're burning more fuel than everyone else because you don't have someone to draft.
Yeah, that's a great point, Steve. So, maybe we have to find out what's the advantage to say? Is it going map 5? Is it going without the draft, or maybe you run map 3 with the draft? Like, there's a lot of questions there. But I'm noticing that it looks like Charles Seedy, I think he's backed the pace right back down again because he was closing up a lot on Gary Corley. Now he's starting to fall right back again. So I think maybe he saw those couple of big laps he was putting in just wasn't going to do the trick for him. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. If we stay green here, Steve, we're going to have a very interesting race on our hands. But we got actually really big battle going on now. Look at this. We got the 18, we got the 007, we got the 3, we got the 89, all closer together here. Jim Brooks is right there now as well. Gary Corley here as well. We have a big pack right now with Matt just completely gone from the picture. Oh, Jim Brooks, he's going to lose it off of 2. Heavy contact to the inside wall. We're going to stay green, I believe. But I believe, unless Jim saved that faster car, Steve, this could be the end of his evening, possibly his championship hopes as well. So we saw that a lot of that aggressive battle going on. So we'll see, can Jim limp it to the pits and can he get any fast repairs if he has them left? But right now, I think we're seeing a very big strategic race going on right now because, again, it looks like just at this point, nobody wants to lead these packs right now, which now it's Nick DeGroot leading this second group. And that second group a little further back of Craig Forsyth, he's still, actually now it's Craig that's taken over from Charles Teed. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I'll say we're gonna watch Jim Brooks real quick. Does that car get a fast repair? Steve, it's not looking like it. That car's still sitting on the jacks here. And unfortunately, I think that answers our question. No fast repair remaining on the 51 car. This could be, unfortunately, the end of the championship hopes to make that final 4 races for that 51.
Shame because he was having a really good race, and it's to me it's kind of funny watching these guys that are all over top of each other here from Nick to back.
This is a very strange race right now.
I'm sure that what they're doing is, balancing between being aggressive and saving fuel.
But what they're also doing, Steve, is they're now letting these guys, we talked about Craig Forsyth, Charles Teed, I think they realize, hey, this may not work out for us. We got to back our pace down. And now Craig Forsyth, he's only about 1.2, 1.3 seconds off Gary Corley, right on the edge of his draft. But while they've been doing this, Matt Wagner, he's just gone. He's got almost an 8-second lead now, Steve. He's running about 0.6 of a second faster than Nick DeGroot and the rest of the field here right now. I mean, he's basically just picking them up and putting them down. And see, Jim Brooks, he's actually able to get repairs, looks like, done to that 51 car, heading back out on track. Unfortunately, though, 17th position. So it's really going to depend, I think, on where his challengers behind him finish, which Charles Teed was the closest of those, and he sits 8th, so obviously easily enough for Charles to leapfrog him. But yeah, I mean, look at this, though. Craig Forsyth, he's now in that draft, Steve. But the question is, Craig, does he go on the offensive? Does he keep saving? There's just so much strategy that's going to be coming to play here. And I think James Ledford, the 48 car, I think he's had a moment trying to find where James is. He's off the track. He's trying to limp this thing back to the pits. He's actually out of turn number 2. I think he's just going to pull it down here and take a tow. And so that's going to continue this race to go under green.
And we're about to have a caution.
Oh, okay. Gary Corley in the 7, you're right. They're trying to keep it green still, Steve. It looks like he's going to get it off track as well. So we're starting to say, who's down there with him? Oh, it's the 48 James Leder, okay. So these two drivers trying to limp these poor cars back to the pits. I say Matt Wagner's still just putting down monster laps right now compared to the rest of the field. But yeah, right now it's just chaos here from Nick DeGroot on back, Steve. Now it's kind of settled in a little bit. But actually, Craig Forsyth, he's actually fallen back. Oh, Craig Forsyth, he's missing the front corner of his front wing, Steve.
Yeah, that was
So he's had contact with the 7 car.
Yeah, that was what caused the Gary Corley to hit the wall. And I think it was kind of an accordion thing that caught Craig Forsythe off guard.
So now the question is, now it's Jim Herrick who's going to take the lead over of those that pitted under those last yellows. So now does the advantage go back to Jim? James Ledford, he's still trying to make pit road in that 48 machine. What this has done, though, is this has allowed Jim Brooks, is probably going to let him gain a couple of spots potentially on some of these guys as they make their pit stops. Again, I don't think it's going to be enough as they run, but now it's going to be Jim Herrick, though. He's going to be the first of those that pitted. He's going to now be up to 6th. Charles T down moves up to 7th. Yari Brewpacher is now up to 8th. Again, all these drivers were definitely right on the fringes of the points here, so it's going to get interesting here. And also Nick DeGroot, he's about 7 seconds off of Matt Wagner. He's got Jeff Heisong, Henry Bennett, and Alec Coates. But again, they did not pit under those yellows, so we're at 9 to go already, Steve. Matt Wagner, he has no choice. He's just making fast time after fast time. I think he knows at this point that he just has to hope for a yellow and see how it all shakes out. But I think we're going to see that 11 car probably hitting pit road, not the too distant future.
Matt Wagner's running. He's running 25 threes. Nick DeGroot just did a 26.0. So 0.7 seconds faster.
Yeah. Matt's running basically at 0.3 of a second faster than these guys. And oh my, Steve. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's 25.75. I thought I saw the number wrong. I thought it was like 3 seconds faster that last time by. But yeah. Here he comes. It was a pretty quick entry. I think he probably got down to speed. But now the question is he the only one that's going to have to pit here? Does he just, at this point, does he just feel like that was the only opportunity he had? He just basically went full aggressive and maybe hope for a yellow. So we'll see. Now the question, of course, is going to be the rest of the field. Are they going to run themselves out of fuel? The one perk Matt has here is he should be able to get service done and get back out, probably without losing a lap. We'll wait and see there, because as he comes out of pit road, here's Nick DeGroot coming out of 4. And now it's Nick DeGroot, Steve, who's kind of running away from the field here. He's got now a 2.5 second lead over Henry Bennett, as Nick is going to indeed put that 11 car 1 lap down as he comes around. And I'll say now for Matt, he's going to have to just try to pick up and go, and he's going to have a huge horde of cars here chasing him down. You see Henry Bennett, and it's going to be Henry going to try to probably steal some draft off that 11 car. But I'll say these claps are clicking off fast, Steve, though, because we're down to 4 to go. Does Nick DeGroot have the fuel to make it? Again, he pitted at 65, as did Henry and Alec. Jim Herrick in 4th pitted at lap number 71. Actually, now Yari Brewpacher in 4th on lap 72. This is going to get pretty tight here on the field numbers, I feel like. Actually, no, here comes Nick DeGroot. He's going to hit pit road coming to 3 to go.
Oh.
Now it's going to be Henry Bennett. Has he made the field numbers work? 3 laps to go here at Atlanta. And can the drivers behind Yari Brewpacher, he's going to now move up to 2nd, Steve. Can Yari catch Henry? Because you know Henry's saving. Can he go full rich here to the end?
I'll tell you, if all these guys still have to pit, Matt Wagner's going to win this race.
As Matt's coming around into turn number 1, we're now down to 2 laps to go. And Steve, Yari is closing. He was about over half a second quicker than Henry that last time by. And that 007 car E does not have a lot of pace here. At this point, right now, it looks like it's going to be Yari's race here to lose at the way they're going here. Now Henry picks up the wick a little bit, but can he get away with being that aggressive to the end? Is he going to have enough fuel? He's going to try it, but it's going to be Yari Brewpacher. He's going to take the lead here, Steve. 1 to go as Yari Brewpacher takes the lead coming to the white. Out of 2, you see Henry's going to try to drop low. Jim Herrick's going to try to pick up the draft. Can Jim jump into that 2nd position? It's looking good for Jim as well. Does he have enough fuel? Is he starting to sputter,
and
Steve?
Henry's out. He's out.
Yari's out too. It's going to be Jim Herrick who's going to get the win, Steve. Right out of turn number 4, Jim Herrick gets the win. I believe Yari Brewpacher able to coast it to 2nd position. Charles Teet's going to finish 3rd. Henry Bennett somehow, Steve, he made fuel work, still finds a way to finish in that 4th position. Craig Forsyth missing the front wing of his car is going to finish in 5th. Oh my goodness, I thought at that point it looked like it was Yari's to win there, but Jim Herrick saves enough fuel there, and he's going to take the win here tonight at Atlanta.
That was crazy.
And I think just for good measure, Steve, I think he may have saved enough fuel to do a burnout. We'll see. That car sounded awful quiet here, Steve. Oh, there he goes. He's got just enough.
So basically, those cars that were running all over each other, just like we thought, they were all trying to save fuel, and most of them were successful.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it shows though that even Jari Brubacher, Charles Teed 2nd and 3rd, they actually pitted on 72. Jim Herrick, he pitted on 71. Didn't top off on the 1 to go, so it gave him a little bit of track position. You see Matt Wagner coming up, I think, to help out the race winner in that 40 machine. I want to go back to the finish line though, because I think it was actually a really close finish as well between Jari here and Charles, because again, Jari sputters out of turn number 4, which allows Charles T to come with a huge head of steam here. So say we'll pick it up as they start to come across the line. You see, there goes Charles. He gets around the 007, and then just out of the corner of your eye, you're probably going to start to see that 49 car as well. And actually, it was not as close as I thought. So Jari was actually still a decent bit ahead of him there. So my mistake on that one. But yeah, so it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be Jim Herrick, though, getting the win here tonight. As a Matt Wagner trying to help out that number 40 machine. But man, what a finish.
Yeah, that was wild. I mean, everything got shaken up on that last couple laps.
So with that, we're going to pull up our final results for the evening. It's going to be Jim Herrick getting the win over Jari Brubacher by about 0.4 of a second. Charles Teed in 3rd by 0.8. And then Henry Bennett somehow making the fuel stretch to the end in 4th. Craig Forsyth missing his right front end plate of his wing, still gets a top 5 as well. And then you got Alec Coates. Carl Henderson rebounds all the way to 8th. Steve Matt Wagner, unfortunately, that late pit stop, he's still able to grab 9th. Then you got Nick DeGroot in 10th. Don Reedy in 11th. Jeff Heisong, Gary Corley, Michael Spell, Josh Lassen are top 15. You got Jim Brooks, James Ledford, and AJ Hobson are 18th position. And unfortunately, not a good one for Jimmy Dryden, finishes in the 19th position.
So what do we think this did to the points?
So on the point side of things, Jari Brubacher, we know he's safe. I mean, with a great result like that. Craig Forsyth, I think he's good to go. I think at this point it's going to be now Charles Teed. I think Charles jumps into that 8th spot, leapfrogging the 51 of Jim Brooks back to probably at least 9th position. Just again, the difference between those two going into tonight, it was 142 points for Jim, 136 points for Charles. Charles finishing in 3rd, Jim finishing in 16th. I think the numbers there should be more than enough for Charles to grab that that final spot in the points. I'll keep an eye while we pull up our interviews to find out exactly how it's going to shake out, but we got to chat with some drivers here.
Let's do it.
All right, Steve, we're going to kick things off with our 3rd place finisher in that number 50, and that is going to be Charles Teed. Started in 3rd, finished in 3rd. Discussions about underwear were made pre-race. I don't think we have the official verdict on that one yet. But, man, Charles, I mean, it actually kind of panned out the way Steve and I mentioned. Yeah, we're talking about, okay, that spin on the restart, it could wind up playing a role because that allowed you to hop back in the pits, get some more fuel in that car. And then because it was right on the edge for a lot of drivers there, but yep. You managed, and it was basically a race of who didn't want to lead. We saw you at one point said, "Screw it, I'm going to make a run for it." But then you say we kind of saw you fall back into the clutches of Craig and company again. I mean, just take us through the race, but then of course, at the most part, I think of course that final run to the end, trying to make the fuel and the track position to try to put yourself in that catbird spot.
Yeah, so I qualified pretty well. Again, I've been qualifying well all year. That's the thing that's most frustrating. And then my strategy or my poor driving has really put me behind the 8 ball. Not to mention tonight, I spun on the restart out in the marbles. It did work out very well for me with that caution, even with having to go to the end of the line. On that restart, I knew Craig was saving fuel, and I wanted to get around him because I was anticipating another caution to come. The caution didn't come, so then I had to go back and slow down and save the fuel, and that's why it works so well for Jim. We were just talking about it. With no caution coming out, Jim was in the catbird seat, so he was able to go map 1 for like the last 12 laps, and that was. I had a half a lap more of fuel. I should have done it just a hair sooner, and I would have at least gotten second. But hey, I did that. This was such a cheap third place. I mean, spin. I'm not Danny Sullivan.
Well, if you were, you would have won and not finished
exactly.
third.
I didn't have the right underwear on tonight. That's we didn't check before the race, so we're gonna have to dig them up. But it was a lot of fun. It's always fun to race and having you guys broadcast that. I really appreciate you guys doing this.
We enjoy doing it. It was a fun race to watch tonight. I mean, just trying to figure out what you guys were all doing.
Yeah.
What was it like when you and Craig and finally caught up to the guys ahead of you? Because you had like a group of 7 or 8 cars, and you could tell like everybody was trying to save fuel, and you were running all over top of each other because nobody really wanted to pass. What was that like?
It actually got me really excited, but I had a little bit of concern there could be a caution. But it mostly just excited because I knew we caught the pack then. I knew we were racing for the win because I knew they were all. I don't know how Henry got it even to limp across. The guy's just a freak on fuel saving. But I knew it was really going to come down to the 3 of us for the win. It was Craig. Craig had some unlucky moment there with him and Gary having contact. That caution would have been really interesting because half the field would have pitted and the few of us would have been good on fuel with them behind us. I didn't really like the car in traffic. It was really hard for me. I don't like a pushing car. So I ended up at like +7. That's what made me spin. I still had it at +4 on the restart, and that thing just was like I was on ice on this restart. So nice finish. Undeserved.
I definitely deserved. Just laid out a smart strategy there and ran well.
Yep. We'll take it. I'm not giving it back. We've had some really good runs that haven't gone our way. Last week at Michigan, I let half the field go by trying to save fuel, and then I realized it was impossible to repass them. And so that was another brilliant move by my crew chief. So yeah, it's been interesting.
What was it like trying to pass people tonight when you weren't saving fuel?
It was tough. Nick went by me. Nick is absolutely a magician. I think it was on like right after the first caution. He just went right up to the Larson cushion on the top of 3 and went right around. And I'm like, I don't know how he does this. I don't know if I passed 3 cars all night if someone wasn't letting me pass. It was the push at a half a second was really tough, and that plays exactly into what I'm the weakest at as a pushing car. A lot of these guys are much better at that than I am. So
yeah, it was tough. I was playing around with that in practice, and
wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Man, the second you wouldn't know it even, and all of a sudden you're just washing out to the wall off of 4, and it's like, oh god, don't hit the wall.
Oh yeah, I figured that out on my second lap.
Pit entry was interesting. There's a lot of action there. It was I didn't think it would be as fun to race, but it was actually fun with the group. I think it would be nice if you could legitimately run 2 lines, but such is the life with this new tire model that we're racing with. So hopefully they fix that one of these days.
And of course, obviously the big thing tonight being the last race of the regular season. You were 9th going into tonight. I believe it was 4 points out of lead, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously with Jim having some troubles in the 51 car, we saw, unfortunately, he caught the inside wall. Had to burn the fast repair. Must say, because you were at 140, or so Jim was at 142, you were at 136, but I say with you finishing 3rd and with Jim finishing 16th, I think the number's definitely in your favor. To jump into the top 8 there. So and that's what I love about this league, though. It's like, I'm sure, like you're kind of heartbroken for a friend and someone that you love to race with, before being kind of happy to get yourself in that final 4. And saying that's just one of the things I love as well about the league. Just like I said, the camaraderie, the friendships that you guys have, even with the competition.
Yeah, Jim had more pace than I did tonight. Jim legitimately passed me on the track in one of the restarts when I didn't have enough jacker in the car, and honestly, guys, I haven't paid attention to the playoffs because I've run so shitty this year that it's just been frustrating. I've been consistently like qualifying in the top 4 and racing around 8th to 12th, and that's just I haven't had the time to really practice, and so I didn't even realize that this was the last race before the playoffs, to be honest with you. And Jim definitely deserves it over me, so that's a bummer. But I'll take it. I'm not giving it back.
well, surprise! You're gonna have to put a little. You'll have to put in a little work going forwards here.
Yep. We got some practice to do to get back in with these guys. Are just so freaking good, and it's just been crazy in personal life. So we'll get back at it. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank you guys again. Every week, you guys do such a good broadcast and bring humor and bring just great insight into the race. And thank you.
Nah, it's definitely a pleasure. And I say, no, Steve, I'll let you also. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So you guys put on great races week in and week out. And I say tonight was to say I think one of the more chaotic ones we had in the recent, with just the fuel mileage, the racing, the race within the race of the fuel mileage. It had a little bit of everything for sure. But yeah, just awesome job. Like I said, I know you're kicking yourself over the spin on the or on the restart, I should say. But again, I mean, sometimes a little bit of bad luck turns into the good luck, and I think you did exactly that tonight. So just awesome job tonight, Charles.
Thanks, boys. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the compliment and great job.
Thanks, boys.
All right, Steve, now we got to jump over to our second place finisher, and that is going to be the number 49 of Jari Brupacher. And man, I'm going to chalk this up, Steve. I think I'm going to chalk this up to commentator's curse for Jari. Started in 5th, jumps to 3rd. And I mean, I honestly, I think I even said it was like coming at the point he had the big momentum, had the lead. And it's like, all right, I think this is pretty much Yari's race to lose if I'm not mistaken. But Jari just a little bit I'd say just a little bit too much fuel consumption at the very end. It looks like he sputtered there right out of turn number 4. So obviously hindsight trying to build up a gap probably as well. But I mean, just take us through that run to the end. We saw you top off on that one to go. Obviously had to work your way through a lot of cars there. But still, I mean, to bring it home second, a great result for you. Obviously also keeps you locked into the playoffs as well, because you were also in that danger zone, if you will. But I mean, yeah, just take us through that run, and then of course those last couple laps, trying to first chase down Henry, and then of course try to kind of stretch the field to the finish there.
Yeah, hello guys. Wow, what a race! Full mix of emotions. First the wreck, 2 laps down, then the caution that flies at the right moment, and I'm 1 lap down, and lucky dog again, and I'm back on the lead lap, and then I realized I was probably going to be a little short on fuel, so I tried to pit us late and just work the fuel numbers, and I guess I went 1 corner too early out of the fuel save mode because I literally ran out of fuel in turn 4. Yeah, it looked like I had won it, but I wasn't sure if Henry could make it because he's always really strong at saving fuel. So I guess I went a little too hard there, but I knew Jim would probably also be able to make it, and he won it.
Jari, we knew that you had more fuel than most of the guys out there, and that you had been saving. So when I saw you come flying around the guys that were still having to save fuel, and it looked to me like, oh, he's got this race. He's going to win it. I'm sure that he had his fuel calculated right. And then I hear Gael say that you ran out of fuel, and Jim Herrick went by. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I guess I miscalculated a little bit, or I miscalculated the fuel I needed to run in clean air once I got past and everyone. I actually thought I was going to win it. I was pretty convinced as well. When I came to the white flag, I looked at my fuel numbers and I realized it was going to be very, very tight. I just tried to keep going and hope that especially Jim was going to run into the same kind of problem. But yeah, he didn't, and he did a great job and won the race.
Well, it was exciting for us to watch that, and for you to come back from 2 laps down and finish second is just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be mad at the outcome. I'm a little bit disappointed. Obviously, I didn't win it, but then again, like 5 laps in, I thought I was probably also going to be out of the playoffs. The way the race went, so I guess it turned out pretty well still.
Definitely, and you might want to fire your crew chief between now and next week.
Well, if I fire him, then there's nobody racing.
But you brought up a really good point there as well, though, Yari. With like you said, coming to the white, you saw it was going to be a little close. Did you do anything on the final lap? Did you change from fuel map 1 to 3 or 5 or anything like that? Did you bump it down and try to run a little leaner just to see if you had any chance, or did you just basically say, okay, I'm just going to basically keep it rich and keep it matted and just kind of let the chips fall where they may, if you will?
Yeah, I tried basically everything. On the back straight, I actually hit the clutch for like maybe 100 meters or so, just to sail a little. Yeah, I tried everything I could, but I realized it was going to be really, really close. And I mean, the car starts to sputter when there's still maybe, I don't know, half a liter of fuel in. So I wasn't fully out of fuel, but I started to sputter, and that was enough for Jim to pass me then.
Yeah, like you said, when you're going 220, probably somewhere in that range, that little sputter will definitely cost a lot of speed. But like you said, though, let's say it was very early on. You got caught up in that incident. Nothing of your doing, just let's say kind of got washed up on and put you in the wall. And like I said, had to go 2 down right away. We were talking about obviously the points you were sitting in 5th, which is obviously a great spot to be in. But it was really tight between pretty much 5th or so to about 11th or 12th. So like you said, I heard you mention the huge range of emotions. So, I mean, how tough was it to kind of keep your focus and kind of just be, okay, let me get from 2 down, let me get back to 1 down, and then of course once you get to the 1 down, it's like, okay, let's just see if I can be in that spot to get that lucky dog. I mean, how tough is that mentally to kind of try to keep yourself from kind of not thinking about that incident, just kind of moving forward and keeping yourself in that best position to get back in the race?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing was that it was right at the beginning of the race, and I really liked this track. I think it's a bit of a shame they destroyed it in real life now, but or changed it in real life. Anyway, yeah, that was hard, but as I knew I didn't have any fast repair left now. I just tried to stay a little back, save fuel, and see how the race goes, and see if I got a little lucky, which I then got when I was coming right to the pits and the yellow flew, and I came back to 1 lap down. So yeah, from then on I knew I could be in the race because I had the lucky dog spot, and I was just basically waiting for the next caution to fly.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just awesome job though tonight. You like I said, able to stay persistent, work the fuel strategy. Did everything just near perfection, like I said. And I'm gonna take a little bit of blame on the fuel results as well. So I think that commentator's curse. I was kind of talking you up towards the end, pretty much acting like it was a done deal. So I probably sucked away a couple tenths of a liter from you as well there. So I'm gonna call apologies on my side on that one, but. I'll be more careful for you because they say you are in the final playoff 4 races, so congratulations there. So let's say we'll let you look forward to those 4 races, see if you can grab a championship. Obviously, some tough competition, but just awesome job tonight, Yari. Definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that 2nd place tonight.
Yeah, I think that your commentator curse was probably the reason why when I looked down it was so much more low than it was before I looked up at it. But no, yeah, thanks to you guys again. Thanks to the guys in the league. That was really fun to race. It's always good racing here with this league.
Yeah, it was a great race. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it was obviously chaotic at the end. Say nobody wanting to lead the draft, and then everybody kind of getting bundled together. But say in the end, you did exactly what you had to do to first obviously lock yourself into the playoffs, and then like I said, just a couple liters away, if not for me, to get the field number to get the win here tonight as well. So yeah, just hats off, Yari. Great job tonight. Look forward to seeing you in those final 4 races.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Great job, Yari. Good night.
Thanks. Good night.
All right, Steve. That's going to leave us our race winner in that number 40. I will have to try to probably check to see where he came. I think he was in. If I'm not mistaken, Steve, I think Jim was in third position coming to the white, and then obviously he was able to grab Henry with the fuel mileage. Just say he stretched it, but not quite enough. But then Jim, I mean, you see the 49 cars, the pace start to slow down coming out of four. Were you still skeptical that you'd have a chance to catch him before the line, or I mean, what was your thought process there coming to that checkered, seeing kind of looking like everything's going to kind of roll out perfectly for you there coming to the line?
Yeah, coming down the backstretch, I was pretty much thinking I was going to have to settle for third. And then Henry actually announced that he was running out of fuel. So I saw him start to slow, and I knew I had him. But Yari, I had no idea if he ran out of fuel or if he was just trying to save or just slowed up or what. I didn't really think I was going to be able to catch him, but I saw him coming towards me and just kept my foot down, and yeah, it worked out.
Yari told us that it started to sputter. I'm gonna guess you guys probably both topped off at the same time. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I topped off on that last stop. I was kind of near the back anyway, so it wasn't going to hurt me at all. I actually could have gone one lap later on the caution and topped off, but I went on the first lap instead of the second lap of caution, and fortunately it was enough. I got to hang out behind Charles and my teammate Craig for a while on that last stint and just save a lot of fuel, and then realized I had enough to turn it up there at the end, and everybody else was still saving, so I just put my foot down and just ran everybody down. I honestly, I had no idea I was going to make it all the way to the front. I was hoping maybe for a good top five, but I can't really be happier.
It's crazy and a great feeling when that happens, isn't it?
It sure is.
Jim, at one point, I think there was about 7 of you guys that were like all over top of each other and saving fuel, obviously. And it looked like it was kind of getting into accordion stuff going into the turns, and nobody wanted to lead. And I'm just wondering, what was that like for you?
Yeah, everybody was saving pretty hard, so it wasn't really hard to stay with the pack, and everybody was lifting. That's actually what took me out last week. There's some big fuel saving going on and a big lift that accordioned the whole pack, and I got bumped from behind there. But this week, I don't know, I was towards the back far enough that I didn't really catch the group that was lifting that hard until the very end when it was too late. So I didn't have to deal with the big accordion effect that much this week.
It's probably a good thing, because at one point you probably saw that Craig and Gary Corley got together. We thought that was going to bring out a caution, but it didn't.
I knew Craig got into someone there and got his wing bent. That really kind of hurt his chances today. Him and I were basically on the same fuel strategy, and we're about to make a run there at the end together. But that damage, I think, kept him from getting to the front.
Yeah, it definitely hurt him. We could see that. But for him to bring it home fifth with that damage is pretty damn good.
Yeah, very happy with that. Good to see my teammate up there.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. What you're saying there, Jim, too, is strategy wise. Is you went full save right off the bat. So you got the fuel saving out of the way. That way you could then be aggressive at the end. Whereas some were kind of maybe either not being not aggressive enough on the fuel saving initially, then had to kind of bounce between, or went aggressive and then try to back it down at the end. I mean, was that your game plan? Was basically, okay, I'm going to get myself in the window right away and then go after it? Or, I mean, how did you kind of go about your fuel saving strategy there towards the end?
Yeah, in the last stint, for me, being at the back, it was a no-brainer, really. I think the best call is to save as much as you can because you have as many cars, in front of you to draft off of. And my plan was really just to save as much as I could until caution came out. And then I figured, all the guys up front that, I didn't know who was going to make it, who wasn't. I was assuming some people would pit, but I figure if there was one more caution, I'd have enough to go, full fuel till the end. And that just worked out well for me. For the guys at the front, it's harder to make that call because you got to worry about giving up track position to, guys who are directly in front or behind you, who are also basically on the same fuel strategy. So, yeah, it's tough for them, and it was just an easy call for me to try and save as much as I could. And then, the caution never came out, and so I finally was, I looked at my fuel and realized, hey, I've got enough to turn it up. I didn't turn it all the way up. I turned it to fuel map 2, and I was actually able to run pretty much everybody down until the very end. I went back into fuel saving mode for I think two or three laps to go, and then at the very end, when I knew it was all or nothing, and I knew I had enough to get around, I put it in map 1 and just send it as hard as I could.
So you played the mileage to perfection tonight, Jim. And I know you. Obviously you got a great looking car, great sponsor on the side of that thing as well. Say that we definitely want to let you be able to kind of brag about. So obviously partnering up with Area 51 with Dark Horse. We see you obviously on Craig's car as well a lot as well. So I definitely want to give you an opportunity for thanks and shouts as well for the win here tonight.
Yeah, thanks. Definitely want to thank LMC Gear. Sponsored not only our team, but sponsored the league before and done some races. So, lmcgear.com. Check them out. They're lightweight motorcycle camping gear. Just also want to thank everybody in Area 51 for putting on the league. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't really had the best luck this season. I've had plenty of issues, but it's still a fun bunch of guys to come out and race with. So I always have a good time. And thanks to you guys at Green White Checker for putting on the broadcast. I also just want to give a quick shout out to a couple family members. My wife, who's been laid up for weeks with a knee injury. Hopefully she's out there watching right now. And just give a little love to my good buddy Stubby, our cat, who was tragically killed on Friday, and we miss him a lot. So rest in peace, buddy, and thank you guys very much.
Condolences on your cat. Mine is currently on my shoulders, and I know how attached to them we get.
Yeah, I second that for Steve. That's Heather. There are our family members as well. So definitely thoughts to you and your family. I say it's always tough to lose the four-legged loved ones, is for sure. So we'll be thinking of you as well for sure, Jim. So I say hopefully it takes your mind off that a little bit as well. And like I said, hopefully your wife is able to heal up quickly and fully soon. But yeah, for now, try to enjoy this one as best you can, man. A great job tonight. It was a lot of fun. It was crazy. We had no idea who was going to have that one at the end. We thought we did, or at least I thought I did, and then I was proven wrong. But just awesome job tonight, though, Jim. Yeah, definitely try to enjoy this one. Well earned victory tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We're going to celebrate and enjoy this one. They don't come that often for me, so it's definitely a good feeling.
All right,
we can both relate to that.
yes, we can. All right, congratulations, Jim. Yeah, definitely enjoy this one, and look forward to seeing you the remainder of the season, sir.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Congrats.
All right, Steve, that's our race winner in that number 40 of Jim Herrick. Matt Wagner trying to help him out to celebrate a little bit, but That 11 car just doesn't have the traction on the grass. Has the fuel, unfortunately, for Matt. Had to take that last pit stop, but I say that dropped him back to that 9th spot. But we do have the points, Steve, before we get things finished up here for tonight. Before we go into the points, our final 4 races, though, will be Kansas Speedway, followed by Phoenix, Twin Ring Motegi, and, of course, our finale at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So those will be our final 4 races. Obviously, a little bit of you'll have some separation in the dates a little bit here and there with the holidays, of course. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But we will be back next week on the 16th for that. However, now we go into the points. So it's going to be Nick DeGroot will be our regular season champion, 50 points over Matt Wagner. And then it's going to be Henry Bennett in 3rd, Jeff Heisong 4th. Yari Brupacher with his 2nd place finish will be in the 5th position after the season. Craig Forsyth salvages that great result for him as well, that top 5 that holds him in the 6th position. And Andrew Wood was worried about the points, but he's going to hang on to grab that 7th position. So he will be in those final 4. And then our final spot does indeed go to Charles Teed in the number 50. And was able to get a pretty good margin over the 9th place, which actually then turned into Carl Henderson, Steve. And say Carl able to jump up into 9th in points, about 13 behind Charles there. So the top 8, though, are going to be Nick DeGroot, Matt Wagner, Henry Bennett, Jeff Heisong, Yari Brupacher, Craig Forsyth, Andrew Wood, and Charles Teed.
And that's a pretty formidable top 8 there.
Yeah, that's going to be a stout group for sure. And I think we're going to see what we saw tonight, though. Obviously, the guys going for the championship. And again, it's not a winner-take-all finale. It's going to be who's the best out of those 4 races. So it's going to be all about points. Bonus points are going to come into play. Pole position, things like that are going to be extremely crucial. So definitely stick around for those final 4 races. But Steve, I was curious how Atlanta was going to go. They haven't run here before. I don't think we were disappointed with that one. That was a lot of fun. And, man, what a wild finish there at the end.
Yeah, it definitely was, and definitely had to keep our wits about us. And sorry, I'm having trouble finding words at the moment. But
With
yeah,
good
it was a lot to try and keep on top of there at the end with all the crazy stuff that was going on, and it just wow, it turned out so different than we would have expected in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly right. But I'll say it was a blast to be a part of. Always a pleasure, of course, Steve, to share the booth here with you. And like they said, though, hats off to all the drivers tonight. A very, very fun, exciting race tonight. Of course, also got to thank the guys over at Dark Horse partnering up here with Area 51. So if you're looking for more racing, we're in between seasons over there on the Wednesday nights. They run the DW12 cars, so definitely check them out as well. Dark Horse Racing. And of course, with us here on Green White Checker TV, we also share the broadcast booth with Max Speed TV. They broadcast Sunday and Monday nights with Area 51. And for us at Green White Checker TV, I will be back on Thursday night for the Super Speedway Truck Series. Until then, though, Steve, as always, sir, a pleasure. Love doing this with you. And look forward to next week. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for supporting us. Always a blast. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you back here on Thursday. Until then, have a good night.
Had a blast tonight, Gael. Night, everybody.